welcome everybody to the February 26th, 2026, it's hard to believe, and to the Community Policing Advisory Review Board meeting. I'd like to introduce ourselves. I'm Kate Cost. Why don't we start on this end? Clark?
Good evening. I'm Clark Adams. I'm the Select Board Liaison to CPARB, not actually a member of the committee.
I'm Lenny DeSorda. I am a member of the committee.
Kate Cost, Chair.
Jeff Vickers.
Scott Richmond.
Scott Frost.
Good evening, Jesse McFarland.
And Lydia Winter.
And we'd like to begin with the town vision statement. Lydia, could you do that for us, please?
Bennington is a welcoming, engaged, inclusive, and resilient community where everyone, regardless of identity, shares in our vitality and benefits from an outstanding quality of life.
Thank you. And I'll entertain a motion for consent of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll make motion.
Second.
All in favor? Raise your, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? No? Then we can move forward with that. Can I have a motion on the minutes, please, from our last meeting?
I would like to have something added to the minutes at around line 54, 50 to 56.
Okay, but before we can discuss anything, we have to have a motion to start.
Okay, motion to discuss?
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None, and so no abstentions. All right, Jesse, go ahead.
I wanted to have an addition put in at around 54 to 56 with an objective to the intention of the forum and what was driving the creation and data needed to inform the purpose of the panel were items that were brought to the attention of the board and that I wanted to add to it.
Okay, typically what we do, we don't detail all of the discussion. We just say that there's a discussion because we were all present for that.
Okay.
So that's why that was taken out, because otherwise we would have had to have detailed every element of, because it was a lengthy discussion.
It was, and there were just some broad strokes. I thought that was a broader stroke. The other, maybe this would be a part, could be considered at like line 58. There was discussion of the select board and the youth council, and if CPARB might be able to participate or be included with a youth representative and follow up on that. So I just wanted some notation that was discussed.
It's just that wasn't part of the forum. That was an additional piece.
Yeah, that was an additional side.
So, yeah, that's why it wasn't part of it, because it wasn't the forum.
Okay. Is that a takeaway?
Well, we don't have a space for takeaways. Robert's Rules of Order doesn't allow for takeaways. What I was going to suggest is that it be put on tonight, that when we move to future agenda items, that we put that on there.
Okay.
So that it becomes a point of discussion. Anybody else have thoughts or comments on that? Does that make sense to everybody?
Just adding it to the agenda for the following meeting.
Yeah, if Jesse could bring that up at the, when we, in the agenda when we talk about future elements of that. Because I think that's a longer, that's a bigger discussion, because it would require a change in our resolution. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, because we would be explicitly identifying somebody by an age range, whereas now it's open-ended. I believe it's open-ended. I don't think there's a limitation about being 18 or over, but we'd have to take a look at that and make sure that that's, but if we're going to specify that we want somebody who is in that young adult age range, I think we would need to put it into the resolution, but, so, yeah, thank you.
Noted.
Okay, anything else for discussion for that? No? Then can I get a motion then to accept the minutes?
I make a motion, we accept them as written.
I need a second. Anybody? Oh, you second? Thanks, Scott. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? And no abstentions? All right, we've accepted the minutes. Thank you very much. I don't believe anyone signed up for public comment. Did anybody want to make a comment of those that are here? No? All right. Then we're going to move to the BPD presentations. I think the chief was planning to come, but we'll have that in here. Okay. And we've got Corporal Racana and Lieutenant Grandy. We're going to talk about the pre-charge program and then Ben Stat. Welcome. Is it on? Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ryan Arcana, Corporal with the Bennington Police Department, assigned to day shifts. Here to talk with you all today about pre-charge. I want to start with saying we have a great relationship with the Center for Restorative Justice, or CRJ, and the pre-charge program is just another great tool that officers can use, kind of keep in their pocket. Like I said, we have a great relationship. Before the school year starts, members of the Bennington Police Department this year was myself and Lieutenant Grandy. We meet with the executive director of CRJ, who I believe you all have met, Lethea, as well as administration from the middle school and high school, and we discuss diversion for juveniles, and that's whether they're caught with tobacco, marijuana, like vape pens, or alcohol, and then the potential for pre-charge if an incident was to happen at said middle school or high school. So what the pre-charge referral is a member of the Bennington Police Department is the one that is going to refer an individual to CRJ. And this referral potentially gives the individual a second chance, so they're not just automatically integrated into like the traditional court system. How the officer determines pre-charge starts from the very beginning. Communications is going to dispatch an officer is going to arrive on scene. They're going to begin to investigate the incident. This is an important fact. When a crime has happened, there needs to be probable cause that a crime has, is, or about to be committed. Once the officer determines that there is probable cause, the officer will discuss with all parties on scene, whether that's victims, parents, juveniles, anyone involved, to make sure we're all on the same page, and then we will agree that we're going to refer it to pre-charge and not just automatically issue them a citation or put them in handcuffs. From there, like I just said, instead of filing immediately, if the person agrees to go through pre-charge and they complete the program successfully, no criminal charges are filed. However, if they get referred and they do not follow through, they do not do what was advised of them by CRJ, CRJ will then kick the case back to the officer, and the officer will then file the charges for criminal court. A little more how it works. They obviously, like I said, they have to agree to the pre-charge. And the number one thing is that CRJ looks for is accountability of their actions. And they have to almost own up to the crime they committed. If they do not do that, CRJ has the discretion to kick the case back to the officer and say, we're not accepting you because you have no accountability. When and if they take accountability, they're going to meet with different staff members at CRJ. Once they meet with them, CRJ staff members and the individual are going to come up with an agreed upon actions. The police department doesn't have any say in these actions, so that is with CRJ and the individual. So they come up, whether that's meeting with the victim, writing a letter, or whatever CRJ has in store for them, that's what they have to complete. The police department doesn't have a say in what they have to do. Who's eligible? Adults and juveniles. Should be noted, juveniles under the age of 18 need to be accompanied by a parent or guardian. Juveniles are more popular within the CRJ system, and I'd say that's because of diversion. An adult is allowed to consume tobacco and alcohol, as a juvenile is not, obviously. So we see this a lot in high school and middle school. Middle school, not so much, because, like I said earlier, when we met with the middle school, they kind of expressed to us that they kind of have their own system, their own protocol. If a child is caught with any sort of substance they shouldn't be using, they kind of put them through their own system within the middle school. And if it continues to occur and occur and occur, that's when the Bennington PD steps in, and we kind of will issue a diversion. Same with the high school. The high school has an integrated CRJ worker. So the high school will call us, and we'll respond up there quite frequently, and we'll issue a diversion ticket. And all that is we fill out the VCVC, it doesn't get submitted, and then we give them a sheet, and they have 15 days from the day of the incident to call the number for CRJ in Bennington. If they complete what CRJ has tasked them with, the ticket will get dismissed, and it won't be there anymore. If they do not, the ticket will then be in effect, and we try to tell them, please do this, it will affect your license. They may not have a license yet because they could only be 14, 15, but it will affect their license. So in the high school, they have the integrated CRJ worker. So once the police officer arrives, they issue them diversion. He will work with the student and the security staff at MAU and kind of put on a class there. And I believe CRJ kind of counts that, and then the ticket will be wiped away. Some offenses that were approved to be pre-charged by the Bennington County State's Attorney are misdemeanor retail thefts under $300 in value, unlawful mischief under $500 in value, simple assaults by mutual affray. So if two people are physically assaulting each other, it's a mutual affray, you can pre-charge both of them instead of charging them both with a misdemeanor simple assault. Petty larceny, like I mentioned, conflicts at schools, I touched on that. Some disorderly conducts, excessive speed only if the defendant is under 18 years old, and unlawful trespasses. It should be noted, the Bennington County State Attorney said that other minor offenses not listed she may consider, but she would like a phone call to seek approval before you go through with the pre-charge. And then lastly, why us as the Bennington Police Department use the pre-charge program. One, it doesn't clog up the court system. We're all very busy, and obviously. And the most important part, I think, is it gives individuals the opportunity to resolve the incident without being in a traditional courtroom. So we don't have to necessarily hand them a citation or put them in handcuffs and transport them back to the police department. We can kind of give them a separate route and not just put them in the criminal justice system. That's all I have. Questions?
Anyone have any questions? Yep. Scott?
So I just wondering, how many chances does a person get in this program? Is this like you can get caught fighting 4 or 5 times and go through the program 4 or 5 times, or is it a one and done?
Eventually, we would just not pre-charge them. If they're fighting 4 or 5 times, we're going to then arrest them because they're clearly not learning their lesson, and I feel they should have to be held responsible.
It's like a 3 strikes, you're out kind of deal, or it depends on the person?
I guess it all really depends on the facts and circumstances of the said case or who the individual is.
Okay. And one other quick question. So you give them the citation or the thing to go to the CRJ, and then you hold the ticket for 15 days, you said?
Yeah, if we issue we're not issuing the VCVC, but we fill out the ticket just in case they do not complete the within 15 days.
They have 15 days to complete the program as well, or?
They have 15 days to call the number.
Okay.
And then the individual and CRJ come up with a time frame and what to do.
Okay, and then CRJ contacts you when they're
Yep,
complete?
they'll notify us that said individual has completed the program.
So the time frame varies depending on like the person and the charge? It could be a couple weeks, could be a couple months type thing?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
They make the timeline, so
right.
they just notify us if they did complete it or have not.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Laney?
So is this something that is, that the pre-charge program is specifically utilized in coordination with schools, or is this also just for like first offenders in general, or any of these types of things that BPD encounters?
Yeah, both. I just hit on schools a lot because that's who we encounter most of the time with the CRJ program. But no, it could be both. First-time offenders for any of those crimes, we can refer to CRJ for the pre-charge program.
Thank you. Jeff?
Yeah, just generally speaking, do you find it is successful, that it does work to where the person admits or takes accountability for it and then doesn't repeat offend again? Does it seem to work, or is that kind of?
I'd say yes, and especially juveniles.
Yeah.
I think in the middle school and high school, through the diversion, like I said, they don't want to lose their license or have that affected. So the juveniles, they are being pushed by their parents most of the time, but they do complete the program, and I haven't had a repeat offender at either the middle school or high school, so.
Okay, cool.
Just as a point of information, I'm a member of the community panels that work with the pre-charge at CRJ. And from CRJ's perspective, from the community panel's perspective, what we do is we meet with whoever, the individual, and under 18, it's their parent, like you say, and then we ask them, we talk about that we don't do any blame, we don't do any guilt, we're all about accountability and responsibility. And so we set up a contract, like you say, and we work with the case manager to make sure the timeline is there. So there's a element of, I'm not going to say pressure, but there's deadlines. And the individual gets to choose whether or not that's a week, 2 weeks. Typically, it's 2 weeks that they have for 2 or 3 or 4 tasks. And those tasks might be, depending upon what the offense was, they might be community service. Sometimes they've had to work with the fire chief here because of issues that have happened. Or they may do an art project, but something that is consistent with the offense. So just so folks know a little bit of that contract issue. The community panel then backs off, but the case manager through CRJ then oversees all of that. And if, as you say, they fail to complete that, then it's kicked back to you.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? No? Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
And Lieutenant Grandy's going to talk about Ben Stat and differences that with Project Alliance and the situation table, which can be very confusing if you don't know what all of those titles are for.
Definitely confusing. It's sometimes confusing to myself. Good evening. My name is Camilo Grandy. I'm a lieutenant with the Bennington Police Department. Thank you for having me tonight. Good evening to everybody here and everybody at home. So I'm here to talk to you about some initiatives that the police department is doing and has been doing. And I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of history, short history, of how we came to where we are now. I sit on 2 committees, BenStat, and I chair BenStat, and I sit on the committee or participate in the situation table, or SIT table is what we call it. 2021, 2023, we saw a significant increase in violent crime in Bennington and else in Vermont. And, you know, Chief Doucette has explained and talked about this over the years many, many times. We've had, you know, multiple shootings and homicides during that time period that we've never experienced before. And we weren't the only community that was experiencing this level of violent crime. It was all over the state of Vermont. But because of the increase of violent crime, it took notice of Montpelier and the governor and his team, and they came up with the Public Safety Enhancement Team and his 10-point plan to reduce violent crime in Vermont. Part of that was part of that 10-point plan was to address why the violent crime was occurring here in Bennington and across the state. So in March of 2023, several state stakeholders, along with the governor and Bennington County stakeholders met. And we met at Bennington College, and it was a summit to address some of these concerns that were occurring in Vermont and specifically in Bennington. There were more than 25 agencies represented at the time, and it was an 8-hour conference, summit, I should say, where we all got together and talked about the issues from crime, health, housing, and et cetera. From that summit, we created Project Alliance, which I am also part of. The Chief and I are both part of Project Alliance. And that's a group of community partners that brought together, and we discussed the very topics that we discussed in the at the summit and how to address it locally. And the idea behind that is to identify where we can improve, where our deficiencies are, what we can do better. And that's where Project Alliance, how Project Alliance started. From that, we started BENSTAT in May of 2024 out of the Bennington Police Department. Now, Project Alliance is a county-based program, but BENSTAT is a Bennington Police initiative, meaning that the data that we receive and talk about is Bennington Police data, not Bennington County data. It only is for Bennington Police Department. And we worked with, our data and our organizations like the hospital, UCS, the rescue squad, and the SVSU. And we started going through high-frequency individuals, high-frequency locations. And we would use our data and other agencies' data, and we would overlap them to see where we could put resources to. So we meet once a month, 1 hour for each meeting, and it's a select group of people, we started BENSTAT with the idea of identifying those high-frequency individuals and then having an outreach team to go out and, to go out and see if we could get some type of interaction with the individual or individuals, people who are using high services of police and rescue calls. And we would go out and meet with the individual. We try to obtain written consent to discuss the reasons why they were using a large police services and EMS. and do that type of outreach, to the point where at one point we identified what we considered a high-use location, and between the data from the SVMC and SVSU and Rescue and ours, there was an outreach day where we went out and they set up, tables and cooked burgers and hot dogs and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what we did at Benstat. We also talk at Benstat, we also go over what we call the heat map, and that is Bennington Police's, every community has access to the heat map that's controlled by the state. They do all the data analysis based off of the data that's placed into our Velcor, which is our record management system, and that highlights violent crime, and such as robbery, burglary, arson, domestic assaults or domestic-related incidents, sexual offenses, kidnappings, and I think I said homicide. And I think that I explained to, or some of you heard me the other day, we were talking about that heat map, and I didn't specifically talk about the heat map, but I talked about the increase in domestic-related offenses and where we are, the percentage of calls for service are domestic-related. And those are the things that we talk about and try to identify why we have increases or decreases. So that's what Benstat used to do, kind of still does. We felt that we were very, very successful. Before the situation table came into play, we were working with about 11 individuals successfully. And so situation table was presented to us. We started conducting meetings with this group that presents the situation table. They're out of Massachusetts. They are hired by the state of Vermont to teach and collect data on the situation, on situations. And it's part of that 10-point plan from the Public Safety Enhancement Team. So we move forward with the, again, Benstat started in May of 2024, and in November of 2024, after we had developed all this and came up with, our goals and what we wanted to accomplish at Benstat, situation comes into play, and this is where we're at now. So in November of 2024, many stakeholders from Bennington County met in this room. We had a 2-day training from this group called Core Data, and they have people who are worked in the field of law enforcement, social services, probably even with the health departments and social in all types of different programs, and they have they're involved clear across the country. They have access to other communities throughout the country. Vermont, we were the first situation table to go live, and then there was several communities that followed behind us. And I think they're up to 9 now, maybe more. I think St. Johnsbury just started theirs. And the situation table basically is the same thing, same work that we were doing at Benstat, just a different way of doing it. The situation table is, again, compiled of community partners, countywide, not just Bennington Police, it's countywide, and that we meet twice a month here in Bennington. Again, it's made of stakeholders and community partners, and any one of the members that attend the meeting can bring what we call a situation to the table. And that is then broken. If someone comes to the table and they bring in a situation, there's 4 filters. And we start with filter 1, which is the individual agency that presents a situation to the table. Very discreet, very, an age range, what some of the what we call acute elevated risk categories are, and there are probably 15 to 20 categories that someone could fall into. And once the presenter does that, there's a time of pause. There's a time for the group of people to decide if acute elevated risk has been met. If we all agree that AER is there, then we move on to the next filter, which is filter 3, which is limited disclosure of the individual or individuals. And then we look at what agencies within that group would best serve the individual and provide resources to that individual. Once that's determined, we move into what we call a filter 4, and the filter 4 is just that group of stakeholders. Now, we could meet and we could have 3 presentations of situations, and out of the 3, I may end up in filter 4, but I may not end up in the other 2. So that means that the first 2, if I'm identified as being in filter 4 for the 3rd situation, I have to leave the room. The only people that stay in the room are the filter people in that filter, the stakeholders, the team for that specific situation. Once they come up with their next steps and outreach and how they're going to do that, then we move to the 2nd one and then the 3rd one. And when it's mine, I come back in the room and then we do our situation and move forward. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time, but it's a lot of collaboration at the same time. So those are the differences. BenStat still meets, but we don't work like we used to because the situation table has kind of taken the work away from us. But we, as a team for BenStat, which is a lot smaller group of stakeholders, there's about 6 to 8 of us, compared to the situation table that could have up to 20 to 30 people in the room. BenStat group was when we transitioned and started doing the situation table. We all agreed that it was beneficial to continue doing BenStat and having that collaboration in a smaller group, and we still meet monthly. Questions? I'm sure there's a lot.
Can you give an example of how like a situation got resolved?
Okay, so recently, without getting any descriptors, we had an individual that had some issues on meeting their health, and we're constantly calling 911 for rescue. And there was some mental health components composed, but daily taking care of their basic needs for their own personal health was really the larger problem with a component of mental health. So calling 911, asking for rescue. Rescue would constantly go. Rescue would then call law enforcement. So now you have two agencies at the same location for basically someone that needed some assistance with managing their health care. So we compiled that data, working with Bennington Rescue, Bennington PD, the hospital, and other organizations, and we were able to work together, put some guardianship paperwork together, and submit that to the state's attorney's office. Met with the individual, and now that individual is in a place where they're not only that their basic health care needs are met, but as well as their mental health needs. So it's been a month. We'll have to see how it goes.
What's your sense of success? I mean, do you feel like those numbers have gone down, that you've been able to, I suppose some of it's triage.
Yeah, it's difficult to say level of success because, if you help one person, it's successful, right? There's a lot of hours that are involved in this by multiple members, not just myself. But I think that the challenges for me is having consistency with people being there. The same people coming to the meetings every week, or at least a representative from that agency coming in and being able to present anything that agency or assist us when we have questions. We have a couple others that we're monitoring that we believe they're going to be successful. But you have to remember this initiative originally started, we started way back in 2022 with all the violence, and then the governor realizing that there's an issue in the state, and we kind of just went from that violent crime to a lot of the stuff that we are seeing right now at like the situation table is the older population and not being able to meet those basic health needs, and combined with mental health. Those are the kind of things that we're seeing and that we're working on the most.
Yeah, and I guess when I was thinking of success, it was more about you've been able to meet the needs of these individuals as best as one can. Because they have to accept it. And
that is also correct.
Yeah.
If you put forth resources, but that comes with some type of obligation from the person that we're trying to assist, and if they're not willing to do the requirements of said program, then we're back to square one.
Yeah.
We have had situations, meaning literally situations, individuals that we were presented when we first started, like they were like our first top five, our first five, where their situation where they received resources and were doing, they were progressing, and so we closed the situation, but we have since reopened.
Yeah.
Because something else came up.
Sure. Yeah. Other questions?
Help me a little bit make the connection between the fact that this seems to have, the situation table arose in response to an increase in violent crime.
Correct.
And yet it doesn't sound like the situations that are being dealt with are violent criminals.
Correct.
So is this part of an effort to reduce violent crime, or was this the primary tool that was to be used?
Lydia, you're absolutely right. That was the primary, but it's now morphed into a holistic approach or a global approach to issues that we're experiencing throughout our state and our nation, unhoused, SUD, and those type of things. So it was originally for the violence that we were seeing in Bennington throughout the state, out of that 10-point plan from the governor's initiative. And as time progressed, the violent crime that we were experiencing in Bennington because of, and I'm proud to say it, the work of the men and women of the Bennington Police Department and our partners, we were able to push back on that. And we're not seeing that level of violence that we were seeing in 21 to 23. But now we're working on some of the things that I've already explained, examples.
So you're finding that a lot of the violence was not criminal activity so much as mental health issues?
No. The violence that we were seeing before any of this took a start was absolutely criminal activity.
And so you are dealing with criminal activity as part of the situation table?
If the situation presents itself, that is correct. But I don't want to sound repetitive, but before the situation table even came was presented to us, we at the Bennington Police Department, with our other partners, really reduced violent crime by our efforts. We're not seeing the homicides, we're not seeing the shootings, and I know that you've heard Chief Doucette talk many times. In 2022, there was 22 shootings in Bennington. Now, I've been a police officer for over 30 years, and it was just the most unbelievable amount of criminal activity that I've ever seen in this community. And I've worked here for a long time. Chief Doucette's worked here a lot longer. And I've never seen the level of violence that we saw in those 2 years. But since then, we're not seeing that level anymore. Is it out there? Does it exist? 100%. But not at the level that we were seeing that resulted in all of this.
Was the program able to pinpoint the factors that led to that heightened violence?
Which program?
The situation table.
That's not what we do. No, we don't pinpoint policies or anything that came out of...
But with individuals, when you were looking at situations...
There was a lot of things that were, the use of, not so much in the situation table, but more in Benstat, because it was closer to the time that we saw that violent time. We had a lot of individuals who were using fentanyl, heroin, and we had the individuals coming from other communities into Bennington to support their habit, to give them, and that's where that violence and that issues that we had, the chief has said it multiple times, we're never going to arrest our way out of this issue with substance use. But we identified, the state has identified, as well as local initiatives, the need to have, programs in place where people can get the assistance to help them deal with their SUD and not have to travel, to Brattleboro or Massachusetts. We now have things in place here will help reduce that, because they can do it here, still work, and address the issues they're having with their substance use disorder.
Other questions, comments? No? All right. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chief Doucette, did you want to do your update?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay. You guys can go. You can go if you need to. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Paul Doucette, Chief of Police and Public Safety Director for the town of Bennington. It's great to have other people speak to you, not just me. We appreciate Ryan Rakana, and I appreciate the lieutenant speaking about the programs that we're involved in and the things that we've done in our community to improve life for members of the community. And we are really focused on helping members try to get their lives straightened around and give people proper guidance, whether it's, meeting with them in a certain location, giving them direction to economic services, connecting them with 211 and getting them, stabilization. Most recently with cold weather, we enjoyed our time with the Homeless Coalition as another example, and making sure that folks had opportunities to have a safe place to stay overnight in sheltering, and giving those folks guidance. Some of them were placed at the actual homeless shelter. We still call it a homeless shelter, yet we refer to folks as unhoused. But we're pleased to be able to do all of that and make sure that people in our community are safe. So I just want to touch base for just a few minutes on some of the things that we're working on. I'm pleased to say that 2 of our recruits are at the Vermont Police Academy. This is week number 4. And yes, they have a long way to go. Yes, the Academy dropped several recruits at the start and actually had people not even show up to attend the Vermont Police Academy for whatever reason. And, we're fortunate. The 2 recruits that we have up there seem highly motivated. I have checked in on them, as well as Lieutenant Grandy has as well, and they seem to be doing well. So again, this is week 4. So I guess if we kind of balance that out, they've been there almost a month, and they know that they have to stay there until May. So graduation will be in May, and we're really looking forward to that. So you will get another update from me, I believe, or Lieutenant Grandy prior to them graduating. But so far, so good, and we wish them continued success. Rule 20 training. So Rule 20 training requirements are mandated by the state of Vermont, the Criminal Justice Council. Basically what that means is that mandatory in-service training for members of the Bennington Police Department or law enforcement in general. We're only going to focus on Bennington. Each year, full-time certified law enforcement officers are required to have a minimum of 30 hours of training, and there are certain requirements that have to be met. Our Rule 20 training was submitted, and I did make the request this week for Ms. TheVerge at the Vermont Police Academy to take a quick peek at our training. Don't forget, every law enforcement agency in the state is putting their information in. Now we do it all electronically. As you all know, we were audited just this past fall, and we did very well. You all heard from Director Brickell on that, and this is all new to us, this new ACADIS system, and Lieutenant Grandy and I worked to get all of those documents together. We uploaded them, and our preliminary review status came back today with, I believe it was 2 words: looks good. So we're really happy about that. It also involves some of our mandatory policies that we are required to submit. And we have to be in compliance with our electronic control device submissions as well. And so we're happy about that. And it looks like we're I mean, there's nothing that says that we won't be audited again, and if you get audited, it's not because you've done anything wrong. They just want to come and check their records that they have against our records and things like that. So, so we're tracking there as well. Just to remind folks about town meeting next week, and please come and come to town meeting. There'll be some interesting things talked about, and then we certainly ask that people that have the ability to vote in Bennington do get out and vote, and we ask that people get out and vote and support the town budget, and remind people that the police department budget is not a standalone budget. The police department budget is under general fund, you know, with fire and Public Works and others, and we are asking that folks come out and support the town of Bennington budget, so that we can keep things going in the right direction. People have asked about where are you with recruiting, Chief? Well, you know, we're doing our best. We have 3 people that we're going to be interviewing in the month of March, and seeing if they have the ability to be able to go to the next academy class, which won't start until August of 2026. So we're looking forward to that as well, and between now and then there could be others. As you all know, we still remain with 4 open positions at the Bennington Police Department. We are taking serious looks at what other departments are doing in efforts to recruit people, and I think that the town of Bennington is prepared to take steps in the right direction to make sure that we are recruiting and retaining law enforcement officers. We have a very good team right now. You'll continue to hear from people like Corporal Rakana when it comes to these types of meetings, because we need to build on that. And you know, we're also looking at we have three supervisors left that need to go off to Roger Williams University. I'm pleased to say that Corporal Rakana just graduated from Roger Williams University Leadership, the leadership program there, and we will have 3 additional corporals attending the same leadership program that he and Sergeant Briggs just graduated from. So very costly, but definitely worth it. I think, you know, in sitting down and having conversations with Corporal Rakana, there was a lot to be learned there. It's 2 solid weeks of training, and Lieutenant Grandy and I traveled down for their graduation, and it was nice to see how the class came together and had projects to do and were focused. So again, you know, we're just really tracking in the right direction here, and we're looking forward to continued success. I do want to just really go back for a minute. You know, Lieutenant Grandy is really fantastic at working with all of these projects. I'm not going to speak for myself, but he's fantastic at working with all of these projects. A couple of things that were kind of left off that I think you all need to be aware of is that, you know, when we first start these programs, sometimes we have or we had 40 or 50 people in the room, and everybody was all gung-ho, and now we're lucky to get 8 or 10 depending on the meeting. And to us, it doesn't. We're not giving up. We're not backing away. We know that these programs will work, but it's a little bit frustrating. Everybody seems to be so focused on Bennington, and a lot of it involves Bennington County. We're touched by Windham County. We're touched by Rutland County, because we deal with folks from Windham County and Rutland County that get moved to our community from the county that they originally lived in, you know, under the voucher program, or
other situations where they land in Bennington because there's services here that they can't get in the county that they are coming from. And we are a welcoming community here in Bennington. I just want to make sure that we all understand that. But at the same time, it really takes away from resources at times. And we have taken this initiative very seriously, along with our partners. And, we do our best to help everyone that is in our community, because we feel like once you land here, you are part of this community. And but I just think it's important that you know that, whether it's people that show up in our community with pets that they can't take care of, and then that becomes a responsibility of the town of Bennington and the police department. It becomes an issue when they're involved in domestic disputes, and we have to find alternate locations for them to live because people can't live together. So it's a lot more than one thinks. It's not just a bunch of people coming together and presenting topics. There's a lot of after work and a lot of follow-up that has to take place to make things successful. And there has been success with getting people the help that they need. The Bennington Rescue Squad, as an example, does deal with folks that we deal with on a regular basis. And, it takes away resources when we're dealing with the same people over and over and over again. And so we're very pleased that Governor Scott was able to find the funding to help us here, along with Commissioner Morrison. So I think, you just have to really be thankful. We can stand here in front of you, Lieutenant and I, and talk about our community partners. But we're also thankful that the state has provided us with the funding that we need, not to us directly, but with the situation table as an example. To make sure that people are getting the assistance that they need. We train our people with mental health first aid. We're training our people with de-escalation. We are making sure that people are given the proper guidance so that they can get to economic services, local food pantries, and things like that, so they can try to get back on their feet and not just walking away and saying, we can't help you, or putting them in a police car and driving them over to Brattleboro, or driving them up to Rutland, like we have seen here from those two communities on our end. So the buck stops here, and we are making things happen. And I just want to make sure that you're all aware of that, especially for the folks that are new to the Community Policing Advisory Review Board. We certainly do a lot more than just policing in Bennington, trying to keep people safe and healthy. So I just share that with you, and I'm happy to answer questions from anybody in the audience or any Community Policing Advisory Review Board members on the topics that I've talked about here.
Thank you, Chief. Anybody have any questions? None from the board, from the community? No? All right, thank you. I just want to express my gratitude for all the efforts that the department and your officers, everyone in the department, has made to, in all the efforts for collaboration, because that's such a key issue in community policing, and it's definitely not easy. It takes a lot of time and a tremendous amount of patience as you work with other organizations and the issues that those organizations have for funding and staffing and everything else. So I just wanted, on behalf of the board, I wanted to thank you all.
Thank you. I appreciate all of you.
Next on the agenda is a CPARB update. Wanted to let folks know that training has begun for new members. There are a number of modules that are new this year, including observation of use of force, crisis, internal affairs, and also implicit bias training. And I really encourage the current members, continuing members, I should say, if they're interested in any of those, to please let me know, and I'll put you on the email for those trainings, because we're in the process of setting those up. I particularly encourage you, if you can at all, participate in the implicit bias training. I think it'd be really helpful for the work that we're doing. And so far, the trainings have been in late afternoon, so usually 4 to 6, just to give you a heads up on that. So that's... So please routinely check your emails so that you'll find the dates and times on that. And it's not at the convenience of members, it's at the convenience of the police department, since they're using staff and to do that, various members of the department, but also we've had occasion to use town staff, and it's important that we adapt to their schedules. So just want to put that out there. I wanted to give an update on are there any questions about that? Don't want to cut that off. Yes. Okay, sure, Jesse.
You'd mentioned that I believe none of CPARB has had implicit bias training, correct?
It's new this year, so current member or continuing members have not had that training. And that's why I want to encourage people to participate. We have no requirement for continuing training.
Can I how would we?
It'd have to go into that resolution.
So another resolution change.
Yeah.
And then, so when can I ask that, I know you said that people should reach out to you if they're interested, but could you send out that initial information to everybody?
No, I misspoke. Yeah, no, I'm going to send that out to everybody. And then you should let me know if you can attend, so that I can make sure that the chief and lieutenant know in terms of any kind of resources that they're going to need for that. So yeah, I apologize if that wasn't clear. Any questions about that? Yeah, Scott.
Will there be online opportunities to train as well?
Probably not. I mean, there may be, like this implicit bias training, maybe part of it might be online, but for the most part, it's in person. Certainly, if you wanted to participate in the use of force training, that absolutely is. I mean, you're not participating, you're observing. No, sorry. You're not covered by liability to be thrown around there. So, I know, bummer. But there are other things like we've had canine training and animal control, communications. Some of those you've had, but some of them are new. So stay tuned as we come up. Okay. Want to give an update on the town survey data and the traffic safety data, because typically this is the season where we're presenting that data. I've now received it. The town survey data, I'm waiting for the traffic safety data to come. I'm expecting to be able to present our analyses of the things that are pertinent to us, to CPARB, at our April meeting, if it's at all possible. With the town survey data, CPARB has been included in that data, but there is also information about how safe people feel in town and in their specific neighborhood. So we'll be taking a look at that. We looked at that in 24, the 23 survey, and so that was presented to us, and so I'll be making some comparisons as to whether or not that's improved or changed in any way. And we usually do that by age and gender and race, because that's part of those data. Okay. All right, thank you. And so then I've had two requests from members.
Can I ask you one
Oh,
thing
yeah,
about that?
Sure.
Is there historic data that to be compared to?
Only from, prior to 24, there was no analyses done on those data. So it wasn't until, so CPARB started March 22. I would imagine there was a couple months there where they had that was the initial resolution when it was approved by the Select Board. I haven't looked back to see what the first meeting was, but I would imagine it was soon after that, maybe June, since that's when they usually start. And so if the 22, 23, and then 23, 24, it was in 24 that the 23 town survey data were presented. There was no analyses. If you go to our page, the CPARB page on the town website, you'll see that there are traffic safety data posted for several years. I'm not sure if it goes back to 20 that's on the website, but there are like maybe, it's at least 3 years. So we've got 20, 21, 22, and 23, I think. To my knowledge, those years were not analyzed. I don't know who in the town would have done it, to be honest with you, because that's part of our charge. And so we have data from 23 that was presented in 24. 24, yeah. And so the 24 data, because it's always a year late, so the 24 data, 24 data we will present hopefully in April. But to answer your question, I have no knowledge of whether or not those earlier years, even prior to 20, whether or not anybody analyzed that in terms of trying to look at because we looked at whether there were warrants, tickets, warnings, kind of thing. You'll see it when it gets presented, and we look at it by age, gender, and race. We can't look at it by location, so we have no idea if the individual who was stopped is from Bennington, let alone if they're from Vermont, because the state does not collect that.
I was thinking more of like from this town survey.
Oh, the town survey?
Yeah.
Well, did you happen to look at the Select Board meeting on Monday?
I have not been in town.
I would suggest that members take a look at that meeting, because the town survey data were presented by Jonah Spivak, who's the communications person from the town. And my understanding is he presented the survey data on that, on the town. So he's got graphs is what he's got. We're going to do crosstabs so that we can look, as I say, by age, gender, and ethnicity for various things and break that down. We just can't do residence location data because that's not in, the state doesn't collect it, and it's confidential within the town survey.
Does it make any sense to even check the data? We can't see.
Oh, yeah, no, it's really interesting to see. I mean, it's a good for us. I find it important for us to know from the town survey how people feel about safety in their specific neighborhoods and their in the town, because we did find differences in, and nothing significant. It's not like we're going to do high-tech analysis. That's not, we're just doing crosstabs. But you'll see differences. And I think that for this particular, what we can do now is, because we have analysis for 1 year, we can at least, for a previous year, we can at least do some comparisons, right? I mean, CPARB is only, what, 4 years old? And so it's just a good for us to get in the habit of taking a look at that data to see what it says. I mean, obviously, some of it could be surprising. Last year, people who were stopped were from 14 years old and to 92. So it was just, it's just interesting to have that, see that. But I get your point, Scott. There's a limit to what we can take away.
Yeah, you can send out maybe the wrong message too, if you don't know where people are from.
Well, it's just general. I mean, there's a limit to what we can do. That, in particular, what we've identified in the past, the challenge that we've identified in the past, is it doesn't tell us anything about need. And one of our charges is to take a look at need. And we've not been able to figure out how to do that. So we thought maybe we could do it with the data. We can't. Yeah, that's where we are. Maybe we need a better definition of need. There is no definition of need that we have. So that might be a place to start. But that's for a conversation for another time. Okay. And so I'd like to move then to this, the third item under the update about issues regarding meeting schedule and additional open meeting law. Jesse, I think you were interested in that, the meeting schedule. So,
sure.
Again.
I'd like to take that.
Sure.
As a new member, I came on to this board, and it's been every other month, and I think that was implemented either the meeting before or at the meeting that I started as part of the resolution. And I've found it very challenging to get a real opportunity to grow and learn from these meetings with such a gap between them, and also the opportunity to grow with it as a board has been very disjointed in that, only having been to, I think, 3 or 4 meetings so far. And if somebody misses a meeting, we go almost a quarter without seeing a person. And there's a lot of vacancy in the communication in between those 2 months. It could be an email or exchange about one document or training or just the next agenda. And so I wanted to propose a change to the resolution that we return to monthly meetings. I feel like if we had monthly meetings, we'd have more opportunity to grow as new members, to become more engaged, to learn more about this board and how we can be effective members of it, and then to help increase momentum and our abilities to produce more ideas.
Thank you. I'd like to propose that we...
Can I make a motion?
Well, yes, that's what
May I make a motion to move to alter our resolution from bi-monthly meetings or every other month to monthly meetings, or as needed. If we don't need one month, it can be canceled, right? Is there language that we could use to say monthly?
Well, we have to set up some criteria, just as a point of information. We'd have to set up some criteria of what's needed and what's not. So that could be a bit tricky, but we can deal with that.
Yeah.
It's not impossible. So I need a second on that.
I would second.
Okay. And so do we wait for a vote, right?
Do we have discussion?
Discussion, yep. So open it to discussion then. What do folks feel?
Yeah, no, I'm happy with it every other month. I think there's a lot more stuff we can do in between with our time than have a meeting every month.
Okay, others? Because that was primarily the reason for that change.
I think and I agree, back then, I think, I get what you're saying from a new member point of view, that it could be beneficial. I think at the time we started talking about it, we felt like we were meeting every month and there wasn't enough new information, so it was almost going through the motions and using up others' time, so that it wasn't necessarily as valuable. And that's why I think we had thought moving it to every other month, we'd have more to discuss. We'd use other people's time more respectfully. So I think that's kind of where it came from. But I get what you're saying as well. That is a long time, especially not having gone through years of monthly meetings. Yeah.
Other comments?
Well, I'm interested too in what Scott had said originally. You said you like the meeting every other month because it gives you more time, gives us as a board more time in between to work on things. And I wonder if that goes along with the additional open meeting law training that is on this as well, because, as one of the newest members, I haven't been apprised of any in-between particular work, and I unfortunately was one of the ones who had to miss the last meeting. So I'm wondering what that work in between the bi-monthly looks like.
Sometimes it is conducting a listening session. Okay. So there's been a general ask that members identify organizations or groups that we can have a listening session with, and then contact the chair, and we work then to set up a time that we can do that. I'm happy to talk to you more about that. We've had discussions in agreement or concurrence with open meeting law about the forum. So that was something that was sort of offline, where at the last meeting, I asked everybody to send me information or respond to information that I would send you, but to do it individually and not reply all. So it's those are really the two things. In the forum, there's a lot of work with town staff and with individual agencies that I've just taken the lead on, because then it's just a single voice, a single point of contact. But there are other things that we'll be doing with the forum that I'm hoping that people will engage in.
And with that single voice and single point of contact, and I might have just missed this in wrap-up or anything like that, but are we, as a board, if you're representing us as that single voice of contact, are we then getting, a summary of what those conversations that you're having are? Or
I'm not presenting any summaries to anybody, because sometimes, like with the panelists for the forum, it's a matter of talking. Well, actually, you did get there was a summary at the last meeting about contacts with the counselors at the middle school with the choice program, and the counselor at the high school with the ACT program. So we did talk about that. And because they are the people, because I had initially asked them to be part of the panel, or to respond to whether or not they even felt it was needed. So that was all discussed at the last meeting. Reaching out to various organizations, that was feedback that I got from various sources, including those counselors, including BPD, and then also the organizations that agreed to do it suggested others that are work in Bennington with Bennington residents. So there's been anyway. Other thoughts? Yeah, Lydia. I'm sorry. Hey, Lydia had her hand up.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I just want to speak in support of the motion. I do feel that after coming up on a year on the board, there's just no momentum when 2 months go by between meetings. If the concern is that we don't have enough to do in monthly meetings, I would just spitball in here, but the resolution that created this meeting lists a lot of things that we are asked to do that we are not doing. And we can, in my opinion, if we do the things that the resolution creating this board asks us to do, we will have no problem at all filling up monthly meetings. Now, related to that, and this kind of addresses the request that I made for additional training on open meeting law. The open meeting law was revised last year. The three of us now who are new to the board have, the Secretary of State's office did a very good online training for the open meeting law, which all of us who are new members were asked to watch. However, I don't recall there ever being any requirement for existing members to get that training, either online or in person, even though the law had changed. And I think that's a mistake on our part if we don't ask everybody on this board to be current with the law and receive the training that we're asking the new members to get. Additionally, there was some discussion a few minutes ago about implicit bias training, which I took when I looked at the agenda was going to be a requirement, but now it was presented as an option. And yet, a new requirement for training that apparently only new members are required to receive, and that there may be existing members who have never had that implicit bias training. I don't think it makes a lot of sense for some of us to get training and have it be mandatory. I don't mind it. I'm happy to get it. But I think we're missing out if we all haven't had the same training and we all aren't current with the law. I'm not done.
I think we need to do this individually. So the motion is about the meeting, and then we'll come back to the training.
Well, I brought that up because those are interrelated things. One of the reasons that we don't have much momentum in the 2-month span between meetings is that we have been operating under a very, in my opinion, overly strict reading of the open meeting law, which essentially prohibits those of us on this board from communicating at all with our fellow board members under the assumption that to do so would constitute a violation of the open meeting law. I don't happen to believe that's the case, and that was what drove me to ask for that additional training, and it also is something that feeds into the need for us to meet more frequently and have a more ongoing communication with each other. Thank you. I'm finished now.
Thank you.
Can I piggyback just one item, which is that if we have every other month meetings, if we want to make a change to the resolution and have that discussion and look at those revisions, how many months does that take when we're meeting every other month? Versus if we're meeting monthly, how do we move these changes forward?
In talking to Tom Haley about the changing the time of meetings, all we need is a vote, and he will take it to the select board for a vote, and then that change can go through. So that's not a big deal. Because I was concerned that we could be doing this piecemeal, and I have some concerns about that. Just keeping track of what changed when and who's affected by it. But that's how that works with the change in meeting time. So it's not a long process. We just need to have that vote tonight, and then I can take that to Tom and let him know the result of that. And if the board approves of moving to a monthly schedule, then he will bring that to the select board for a vote. So that's how quickly that can go into play.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott.
One more duty we really have to try and do is be present at some of the community policing activities that the Bennington Police Department puts on as well.
Could you say more about that? I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Oh, the different community events that come up, like the backpack giveaway.
Mm-hmm. But that, are you saying that things like that need to be specified in the resolution?
No, I'm just saying that, just answering Lonnie's question about, the extra work that we do.
Additional things.
Right.
Yes, yeah, no, that's right. That's right. And, yeah. Okay. Any other discussion on that? Clark, did you want to say anything? No? Okay, all right.
Folks have to work it out with us.
That's right. Yep, all right, thank you. Well, then I guess we're ready to call the vote. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
No? We should have had a vote. We should have had a count on that. So we had 3 or 4 for the yay? Okay, and it's all the new members. Okay, and then it's the 4 of us, okay, that are no. So we're not going to change the meeting schedule. Okay, thank you. What we might want to think about, though, is how we can improve communication then with folks to do that. Put your thinking hats on for maybe next time. And then I want to move to this additional open meeting law training. Just as a point of information, and I haven't checked the exact language, so I apologize. I've got the resolution here, so I might be able to do that. About requiring training for continuing members. My understanding of the resolution, and as I say, I will look at it, is that there is no requirement, which is why I can't require the training for the implicit bias, just as a point of information. All I can do is suggest and recommend. But let's talk a little bit more about the open meeting law training. Lydia, did you want to say any more?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we've been operating under a very strict interpretation of the open meeting law, which would prohibit an individual member of this board from sending to all of the other board members a link to a news article. It's information that is communicated amongst board members for discussion at a subsequent meeting, not to make a decision, not to lobby in favor of a specific position, but to put information in the hands of our colleagues to make them informed on matters that may come before this board. Under the current interpretation, we can't do that, because the fact that we send any communication to more than 4 of our board members, we are creating a quorum and have to warn that as a meeting. And that's why I think we need to have updated open meeting law training so that we can, because that keeps us from functioning as a team. We come every couple of months, we sit here at the table, and we go away and don't give it a lot of thought until the next time around. And we hear nothing. I'm sorry. Jeff, there's no communication. None. At all. Nothing. And there's something wrong when that's the case, in my opinion.
Okay. I was going to say, I had the same thoughts back when we had the original training. I think it was from the town attorney. That was new to me, and I kind of voiced the similar thing, that is, it makes it very difficult to move things forward in any sort of a speedy or efficient way. And at that time, and maybe there are changes, and maybe that's worth talking to the town attorney again, is that unfortunately that is the law and there is no way around it, which to me, it just seems so counterproductive to what a board is trying to do, that everything has to be so tightly controlled that it really stifles that open communication. But I guess their intent is it's open communication for everyone in the town to hear, and everyone has a right to hear it at the same time and speak their mind, and us doing it outside of that keeps it from happening. But, you know, from like a private business point of reference, it's just so cumbersome. It is very difficult. I had the same exact thoughts and at the time, and since then I haven't heard anything different, but yeah, maybe there's some changes that open it up, but it isn't easy at all.
No, and I have taken my cues from the select board, because that's how they operate. And in talking to the chair of the select board, Tom, he's assured me that he operates the same way I do, in that we don't have cross-communication outside of this meeting. You are welcome to send an email to other members of the entire board. It's just that we can't engage in a conversation as a group. And that's the limitation there.
Well, that's what I was trying to ask us to be able to do.
Yeah, and you can send out an email to the entire board. It's just that we really need to be very careful about any kind of response. So that's why when I send out an email to you, I say, do not reply all. Just reply to me, and that's because otherwise it's a violation of open meeting law. And as I say, I take my cues from the select board, and that's how they operate. But Clark, do you want to say something?
I wanted to address the issues of training opportunities. I think, this open meeting law training is critical, but the VLCT runs a series of ongoing educational opportunities, and I'm not certain if you guys are enrolled through the town's account or not, but maybe that's something you want to explore, that going on to the VLCT's educational site and take opportunities, because as these laws across the board are updated, they routinely send out, at least to the select board members, notices that these classes are available, whether they be just plain look and read or webinars or whatever. So I know we on the select board get this.
Yeah.
And I think that might be helpful to those folks who are seeking greater learning opportunities, but also clarify some of the concerns that are being expressed here.
When we had our ethics training, that was from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, which is what that acronym stands for. Right. You're welcome. You're welcome. Other thoughts on that?
I think your communication is good. Like, for instance, and we all gave input for the forum, but I'm glad there is an opportunity. I was going to ask if there was a caveat, so we could send out emails.
I would motion that when we are sent an email to a majority of the board, everybody on the board gets it, whether they've asked for it or not.
Yes, and I've been corrected on that. So, and I've determined that I was wrong. and apologize for that. So,
I don't think I made a motion.
no, but you probably should.
I'd like to make a motion that the entire board receive updated open meeting law training.
Would that be a change to the resolution?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, and the only thing that I have from the resolution on training, and if anybody has their resolution with them, it's, yeah, I don't expect you to, but it's on page 3 and 4, and this is what it says. Members must complete training authorized by the Bennington Police Department Chief within 9 months of appointment to the CPARB. Prior to Select Board review of the budget each year, the CPARB, working in conjunction with the Bennington Police Department, will provide a list of required training for members of CPARB. No member may serve as chair or vice chair unless they have completed all training. CPARB members shall take additional training on effective practices in civilian review of law enforcement over their term, not less than 1 additional training every 2 years. Training costs will be borne by the town of Bennington. So there's no provision for requiring training unless it is civilian review of law enforcement. That's the only requirement that continuing members have for training. So, yeah. But if I don't see any reason why people can't take additional training if they so choose.
The training was online, correct?
Yeah, didn't we just take that? Wasn't there
That was ethics training.
ethics?
It was online?
There is training available online in the latest update to the open meeting law, which happened last year. It's comes from the Secretary of State's office. It's about a 25-minute video. Certainly, I think it gives a good basic understanding. What it doesn't have is an opportunity to have a dialogue with the trainer and get clarifications of some of the niceties of the law.
Chief Doucette, did you want to say something? You have a comment?
Sure.
Please.
So, I just want to share with you, ultimately, it will fall to me and my responsibility to see what I can do about open meeting law training. I will speak to the town manager and see if we can get the town's attorney to, because it has been a while, to see if we can get Merrill Bent to put together another open meeting law training with the updated information. Yes, it's great to watch that 20 or 25-minute video from the Secretary of State's office. However, it doesn't really afford you the opportunity to ask someone with authority like Merrill Bent questions. And I think it's important that we all understand the open meeting law. You know, and it is, you know, it is important that we ran into a snag early on when we first started the Community Policing Advisory Review Board, where person was sending out emails and then others were responding to all, and you know that becomes a bit of a problem. So so let me run back tomorrow and or Monday and speak with Mr. Monks and find out what it is I need to do to communicate with Merrill Bent and see what the cost would be to bring that training here, because it might behoove us to include other Town of Bennington employees. It just doesn't have to be this board. It could be the select board as well. And other boards and commissions. So we're not singling out CPARB, we're not singling out Select Board. You know, it might be something that we can do for all involved with the town. So more than likely it'll come out of the police department budget because we're asking for it. But let me see what I can do about that. I'll get back to Kate, and then Kate can send an email to all and let you know. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
So we need
We have a
vote?
motion. I don't recall whether we had a second.
Second.
Okay. I guess we have a second. And is there any other discussion?
I guess the motion is to mandate the training, but you're saying there is no mandate. So
Yeah.
are we able to mandate that outside of that?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, my sense is that we can ask ourselves to do the training.
Okay.
Because that's us
Yep.
doing that, right?
Yep.
And,
Sounds like,
because otherwise it really precludes even the chief asking Merrill to do that training. And then then the issue will become
Okay.
whether that we do the online training or
yeah,
if we're
in-person.
able to, it would be, I would prefer
I would too, 'cause I think that was
to that.
beneficial.
Yeah, because that way we can get our questions answered and the specifics of that. And if it's open to other boards and commissions of the town, that spreads it.
okay.
Good. I mean, Clark, do you have any, I mean, that's my sense of that. Does that make sense to you?
It makes sense, but things that make sense to me sometimes don't make sense to other people. I would say that you as chair, present this proposal as agreed upon by the board to Tom and ask us, the select board, to vote to make the changes in the charge letter
Oh, okay.
to allow for this to happen.
Okay.
That, if you can bring a consensus to him that this is something you folks would like to do and you feel constrained by the current resolution, and ask Tom to present to us an option to make changes necessary to allow you folks to receive the training you feel is necessary.
Okay, for additional training, sure. Thank you.
Especially if there's a cost.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
One more question.
Sure.
Didn't we all have open meeting law training before when we first started CPARB?
That's my
Because that's what I remember at the very
remembrance.
beginning. I had to
That's my
take that.
remembrance.
Yeah.
But as Lydia pointed out, the law has changed.
No, I agree.
And that's, then if we haven't had training on this change, then that's concerning. And that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I agree.
If we can have Merrill, that would be wonderful. If not, then because then we can ask the questions that
Right.
we have about that. And the nuances that may not be totally clear in an online training where we can't ask those questions.
Could I
Sure.
just?
Oh, yes, please. Please.
Clark, are you asking me to change my motion, amend my motion?
No,
No.
I'm saying you guys do what you need to do to come up with a resolution. I don't have input on you
Yeah.
guys make your deliberations internally. I'm just
Just
giving
take it to
Yeah.
opinion and guidance on how to interact with the select board.
Yeah, what I would do the same thing that I did when Jesse asked if we could change the meeting sequence every month versus every other month. And so I went to Tom about how do we, that requires a resolution change. And he brought me through that process. So I would go, what we vote, then I would, once I have that vote on that, then if the board chooses to require or versus recommend additional training in open meeting law, then that would need to be in the resolution. There's a difference between recommend and require. And so if we're going to require, I mean, I'm not sure if this is a one-time thing or if this is something that needs to be done every year. So I guess that's part of my concern
Maybe every
in
time
changing
there's
the
a new,
resolution.
maybe every time there's a new change in the open meeting law.
So that the language might be to stay current in the open meeting law.
Or any,
Would it?
Or any legislation.
Any, because
Yes, in any
the impartial training is, impartial bias training is not, is a new thing. So there's something new that you're offering.
Well, but this is for everybody on the board and not just new members.
Right.
So that.
But not requiring it after.
Exactly. Exactly, because right now we don't require any additional training outside of the law enforcement kind of space. And this is outside that. Okay, so.
If I may,
Oh, sure.
Madam Chairman,
Sure, sure.
this document is a list of CPARB member-required training. It has 5, 7, 9,
Oh, it has a bunch.
11, I don't know,
Oh.
25
Oh, at least.
different training items.
I know.
This is not, the resolution authorizing this board is silent on this.
Yes, actually, no, it's not.
So
It's
now
silent on
we're worried about whether we have to amend the resolution to allow us to get
No.
open meeting training when we have this. I don't know where this came from,
It
honestly.
came from, as a requirement from the select board. It is, that's why I read the training.
So
This
there's
is-
nothing to stop us from adding to this list open meeting training if it's not on here already.
We'll provide.
Oh, it's already here.
Yes, it is, but it's for new members.
Oh, that's.
So new members have to have that training.
Well, you know
And-
what? It doesn't say that, Madam Chairman. It says
That is a-
CPARB members.
That is a list I created, and with input from Kelly Carroll, the previous chair. I'm not sure if previous members, continuing members, were ever received that. She gave it to me in passing when she got off the board, so that I could share it with this board. And then, because we initially had a vote on that, and then, hang on, and then, because there's always and then, there is, it had to be presented to the select board at the beginning of the year, and they approved it. And that's in the resolution.
So then, as new members, I don't mean to throw you under the
Yeah,
bus.
no, it's okay.
But we have a new member who's been on the board and trained before. Are they required now to do some of these trainings that they didn't have to do before?
So I talked to Scott about this very thing, and because he is the member that was on the board, short period of time, one meeting, not on the board, and then back on the board. And so I hope that doesn't ever happen to anybody again, because it's very disconcerting, but
is he a new member or returning member?
I think about him as a returning member, because he received extensive training at the very beginning of CPARB. My understanding from Scott, and obviously, Scott, you can speak for yourself, but that he is willing and interested in taking some of those trainings. Not all of them, but certainly some of them, because the one thing to keep in mind, and I'm not sure the new members know this, but the initial board, I don't even know how many Saturdays. You had several all-day Saturdays of training. And so they received extensive training from an outside trainer, and then the other two folks who came in with me, so the three of us they resigned from the board in June, right after the June meeting, we also had a full day of training. And then we started training with BPD as the new members are going. We are really off track, and I'd like to call the question, because it's now 10 to 8, and we still have quite a bit to do. So we have a motion on the floor.
You have a second.
And you seconded it already, yes? We have a motion on the floor about, now, Lydia, is it to require the
Open meeting.
open meeting law training?
How about open meeting updates whenever there's an update, rather than every year?
My motion was that this board, that all members of this board receive open meeting law training in accordance with the latest legal update.
Okay. Okay, we have a second to that? We've called the question, so let's have a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
So raise your hand, please, so we can count. Okay, so we're unanimous. All right, the motion passes. Thank you. And Chief Doucette has kindly is going to talk to Dan Monks about the training coming through with the town's attorney. Okay, all right. Thank you very much. All right, I'd like to talk about our proposal for the Public Safety Education Forum. The overall purpose is a combination of feedback I got. You've all had a chance to read this. The questions and issues for panelists have been sent to the panelists and help them decide who in their organizations would be best suited to represent that organization. So we've got the list of individuals who will be there. And I'm just now collecting their bios and their photos for the program. Because we had decided at the last meeting that we would not do a presentation on CPARB, we saved 10 minutes. And I would like to suggest that we use that 10 minutes for the audience, for questions and answers. We've got an hour for the panelists. They will have a copy of these questions and topics for discussion with at the table, so that hopefully will keep them on track. So are there any questions about those issues right now? Okay, none? Okay, then I would like to move to the organization. Jeff and I have already had communication with the stakeholders and panelists. I've had contact with Jonah. As soon as I get the information from the panelists, he'll do the pamphlet, or the program, I suppose, and we have flyers. Yeah, I would, the advertising and distribution in the past have been, or this last one in November, Jeff and Scott put out flyers, Scott Frost. If anybody else would like to volunteer to help them distribute. At the forum? No, not at the forum, before the forum. Yeah, before the forum. We should have flyers at least 2 weeks before the forum, and... I can volunteer to distribute it. Oh, that would be wonderful. Okay, so that's great. Okay. All right. The town sets up the tables with skirts and like we have now, the chairs, name cards for presenters. I've already talked to Dan about that, and so I'll update him as we get closer with that. For tech availability, That's for microphones for the presenters, that the town also does that, for the facilitators and audience. Distribution of the program pamphlet at the event. This also has the evaluation in it. The evaluation is just really the questions, and we ask people to identify, to rate how well they were addressed. And that's in the pamphlet. So I need 2 CPARB members to volunteer to distribute those. It's right on this, yeah, it is on the second page, date, time, and location. No, it's on this document. No, that's okay. So it's Thursday, March 26th, from 6 to 8 p.m. in this room, multi-purpose room of the Bennington Firehouse.
So we like having a monthly meeting.
Don't go there.
I can be here too.
Okay, so you're willing to help pass those out? I need one more. Scott, that would be great. Thank you. Okay. VPD does security, so there'll be somebody here for that. And Cat TV does the video. I'm sorry?
Oh, they left.
Oh, they just left, yeah.
They got signed up.
Well, I've already talked to them. And the forum is moderated by the chair and vice chair. Any questions on any of that? Any questions from the audience? I keep forgetting. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Good job, Kate.
Thank you. Okay. So then we're on upcoming agenda items. The Bennington County Coalition on the Homeless is going to do a presentation, and they're all scheduled to do that for our meeting on April 23rd. The vote on the charter change has not occurred yet. There's been some discussion. There was a bill presented to the legislature. They haven't contacted me or any of us about that, so that's the only update I have. But if that vote passes, then Jeannie Jenkins and the chief are going to do a presentation on what that might mean for us. So that's to be determined. We'll have the
Question,
public-
please, on that
I'm
item?
sorry?
The legislation, the bill has been submitted.
Yes, yeah.
And I was under the impression that once the voters of the town vote for a charter change, that unless there is some unconstitutional aspect to it, it's extremely rare for the legislature and the governor not to pass it. You sound like you have some concerns.
No, I try not to keep my expectations in anticipation low, because we're talking about the legislature and we're talking about the governor's approval. And so I want to wait till it's a done deal before we move forward on that.
And will the discussion will the discussion of the impact of the charter review vote, will there be a point of view presented there?
You know, we haven't gotten that far. I think because the vote, and I actually wrote it down, so the vote for the charter review that affects CPARB, because there were a number of them that got passed. This is what was passed. Shall the charter of the town of Bennington be amended to add to section 103-303, parens 9, to subsection 3 as follows. Delegate the responsibility to review video footage, transcripts, and other material following an investigation of a complaint against the police department to the existing CPARB or another board established by the select board to replace CPARB. So, because currently we do not review video, and we do not review transcripts or materials. We get a report from the internal affairs when there is a complaint and it moves forward, and then there's an investigation by the department, and it moves through their system, and then there's a determination as to what is recommended. Sometimes it's training, sometimes it's when we've been on the board, the current board, my understanding is that there's never been a suspension, but there has been training, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So then that report, we see that report. And that, hang on one second. So that report, we see that report, and then we either accept that report or we don't. And if we don't, then my understanding, it goes under Act 56, which we had a presentation on from Director Burkell. Yes, Clark.
Again, my question, you mentioned when and if this is passed and implemented, the chief and Jeannie Jenkins would be presenting the
That's actually, that came up a couple months ago, and Jeannie was here and asked that if the chief would, with her, just explain what that would mean for CPARB, because we don't currently do the video and all of that stuff. We don't review evidence. I'm sorry.
My question is, what is her status to be in that situation?
Just as a resident, just as an interested resident.
Again, where are the provisions to allow a community member to present an official document or change in town policy?
Oh, she would just, this is just feedback from them as interested parties.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Again, if Joe Smith walked in and said, I want to present whatever, where does the authority for this person to involve himself in the process come from?
As a citizen of the community, as a citizen of Bennington. Because anybody...
I understand that. You're telling me, as a public, any individual who's interested can assign themselves an official role in the functions of the committee.
No, that's not what this is about. This is about, because we will not be in charge of that. The select board will be in charge of that.
That's why I'm asking.
Yes, this is...
This has never been presented to me, so I would like to know where the authority for this person to be involved comes from. If it's coming from select board, I will bring that to you.
Yeah, no, she's just representing the community and asked the chief, and I can't remember which meeting that was. It was October, yeah, as a resident.
Self-elected or self-represented?
She's just as anybody can come up to the podium and ask us for something.
I understand that.
Okay.
In my mind, again, correct me.
Sure.
You said the chief and Jeannie would be presenting the official.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. That's not what I meant. All I meant is that they will be probably leading a discussion with us and hopefully members of the community about what that will mean, what it could mean. Might, could, possible. I mean, for us as current members of CPARB, it will change how we currently review complaints.
So
it will
is that-
change that process.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yes, please.
So should the authors of that be the ones presenting versus somebody, a community member? Or is this something that we will have to have a conversation about as far as the procedures and process and policies?
It won't be under our control. It won't be under our control.
So it'd be the select board?
Yes, select board. This is just to lead, because and then Lydia, please. I just want to respond just to this is a select board decision. This is only from those two folks, and other people were at that meeting. What was your sense of that? I mean, this has been on our agenda here for future agenda items for the last couple of months. So
I think it's just, once, if and when it passes, that the select board will determine
exactly
how to
yeah.
advise.
And I think from member stance that because it affects the work that we do. So, and Lydia, what did you want to say?
Okay. Just to back up here, let's get the history. There was a Charter Review Commission.
Yeah.
And that Charter Review Commission met and did work and looked at the charter and came back to the
select board.
Came back to the select board with several recommendations for modifications to the town charter. The select board placed each of those recommendations on the ballot last March, and people who want to vote could vote up or down on each of those individual changes to the charter. One of the changes is the one that we're talking about, and it's a subject of a separate bill in the legislature.
Right. Actually, one correction, all of those changes to the charter?
Each of them is a separate bill.
I don't know. I thought it was a whole bill. I mean, I'm not part of the legislature, so.
Well, I read the law.
Oh.
Okay? Trust me.
Okay, I will, yeah.
So the legislature has to pass.
Yes.
And that would be the Assembly and the Senate, and then the governor would have to sign it.
Yes.
And then it would be a law. Now, at that point, the way it's written, it may have no effect on this board because the select board can delegate that review responsibility to us or to another board, which it may create or which may be an existing other board, I don't know. So for us to be talking about this like the passage of that amendment is going to impact us is premature, to say the least. Now, there's another debate that surfaced here, which I appreciate from Clark, about for what reason do two individuals, why were they chosen to come and explain the ramifications of this to us, as opposed to, anybody else who's a citizen of Bennington? Maybe Will Greer, who wrote the legislation, should come. Maybe Select Board Member Jackie Matz, who chaired the Charter Review Committee, should be part of this discussion. Maybe other Charter Review Commission members who were pro or con on this particular thing should be involved. And that's a great question. So I think we're kind of getting out over our skis here by putting this presentation on the agenda for our next meeting.
I have no qualms about this. This was suggested, and it was on the agenda in terms of future things back in December, and I can always take it, we can always take it off. It's just an idea about future work.
So,
So,
can I make a suggestion based
Yes,
on communication? Some of us don't see the agenda until it gets publicly posted or it's sent to
No,
us.
yeah.
So we don't know if something's going to stay on the agenda or be added until that time, and we're making some comments about what potentially will be on it next. It would be helpful for me if a draft agenda was sent out so that we could, make a comment or ask a clarifying question or ask to request an agenda item be added.
I would, in my defense, I would suggest that, because this was something that we talked about, this was announced, because it's under announcements in December, that was there. This came up at the October meeting. And so because it was part of communication from the chief to when he did his update. And Jeannie Jenkins was in the audience, and she volunteered to do this with the chief, to talk about this, because it is about investigation and what that might mean for us. If in fact CPARB is the one to do that. I am more than happy to take it off the agenda. More than happy. And then it can be something that's discussed, if at all, at some other time. This is not a requirement. This is ideas for future meetings, and yeah, that's not a big deal. I can take it off.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want to be clear that I'm not speaking as a member of CPARB, I'm speaking as
Yes.
a member of the select board.
Uh-huh.
These functions are an extension of the select board, and the assignment of duties response is to our duties. I don't remember a select board meeting discussion of any of this.
No, I don't believe you did, yeah.
So, if something that happened via implementation of select board policies or programs, I'd like it to come from the select board to you.
Sure.
Not peripherally to other people may be involved and all.
Yeah.
That was my concern, that this is something that was not coming from the select board.
Yeah.
Peripherally injected into the situation.
Yeah, no, I think the question was what would this mean for the work that we do when we have complaints? And that's why the chief was going to lead that, because it is about opening up that video, and whoever is going to do this, whether or not it's a different board or CPARB, there would definitely need to be training on certainly a lot more than what we get on evidence. So, and I'm happy to take it off the agenda. The other two items that are there are the a public safety education form of evaluation, and hopefully the review of analyses of town survey and the 24 traffic safety data. Jesse, I believe that you wanted to add something on there?
Yeah, the youth council, CPARB involvement.
Okay. Anything else that folks would like to have on the agenda for our April 23rd meeting?
Can you repeat the youth council? What was that over?
Jesse, could you say more?
That was talked about at our last meeting. There was discussion about, well, I guess, I don't know that it belongs on the agenda, but it was a follow-up. Kate was going to look into the youth initiative that the select board was doing, and if CPARB could be a part of that.
I don't recall saying that I was going to follow up, but that we would have a discussion about that. And so I think we need to have a discussion about that.
Okay.
And then I'm happy to follow up. But first I need a sense of what the board would like on that.
correction, actually, just as a point of attention, that youth council is not a function within the select board. Community activities, the select board would like to hear from and kind of be apprised of. So their activities are not select board activities, it's because elders of the community coming to us with an activity they're engaged in. So it's not a select board activity.
Yeah, and they are, my understanding too is there won't be a youth, quote unquote, on the select board, right? Because right now that needs a vote and all that.
Right now, there was, even within select board, so maybe where there was contention, and some of the board members thought, in fact, this was being incorporated into a select board function.
Yeah.
When it is not, never has been, and never was considered. But I want folks to understand that it's not a select board function. It's something that we're aware of and where we can interact and help move them along. We want to do so, but it's not a select board function.
Okay, thank you. Any other items? We're still, we'll put a discussion, Jesse, we'll put a discussion on how to best to involve someone from that age range. Okay? Even if it's a ad hoc member, I think it would, we'll have a discussion on that then. Okay? Any other items that you'd like to add to the agenda? No? Then the only other announcement I have is around town meeting next week. Okay, and please, just, can somebody remind me about the days and times? Monday? So it's Monday at 6 o'clock at here? Okay, I just needed that reminder. All right, so please attend town meeting here in this room on Monday starting at 6 o'clock.
7, I think.
I have to look, I thought it's 7.
I think it's usually.
It's at 7?
I think usually
At 7?
it's 7.
Okay, thank you, I stand corrected. All right, if there's nothing else,
Voting, please, third. Got to vote.
yeah, oh yeah, voting on the 3rd. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, none? All right. Thank you. Thank you for attending.